What is going on? Cheers. Happy Friday. Hopefully, it's not storming where you are, but we are definitely having a storm here. But happy Friday as we go into the weekend. So many weekly things to talk about. So much junk this weekend. So much nonsense. So much silliness all over, I think, the league, all over everything. But yeah, welcome to the live. We're going to break all of it down. Myself and the real Cyberius may or may not have guests. So yeah, whole lot to go into. What's going on, Cyberius? How are you, man?
I'm having a great day. I genuinely look forward to these Friday lives where we get to discuss, unfortunately, all of the idiocy going on in basketball and a few good things. We're always going to find some positives in there, but there's also a lot of embarrassment and nonsense going on. But I like being able to discuss it with you. It makes my day.
Yeah, man. I do try. I do really try to look for positive things or to try to think positively about some of this stuff. But man, this week they're just giving us very little to work with over here. We got James Harden. We got wild stuff going on in the Western Conference Finals. Not so much in it as much as just the narratives around it, the hype surrounding it, the fan sentiment, the trust, everything. There's so much to talk about there. Euroleague is having its Final Four right now. I actually have the end of Valencia and Real Madrid on. I'm curious to see who's going to win that, but cool stuff going on in Euroleague. Tons of Rich Paul nonsense, tons of LeBron nonsense, tons of speculation on LeBron's options, and a couple points I want to point out that I haven't heard anywhere that I feel like the media is slacking on. So I'm going to toss that out there. But yeah, what is going on? Lynetta, welcome Binary Bard. Welcome Mr. Robinson. It's good to see familiar names. Good to see familiar faces.
Absolutely.
But it's a packed week. It is a lot to go through. And if this storm lets up, I have a ball game to go through this evening. So hopefully we'll be able to get all of this in today's live.
Yeah, man. I hope the storm does clear up because who are you going to see play?
I'm going to see double A ball. It's not majors.
Oh, well, hey, no, I mean, double A ball's great, man.
Double A is the closest the closest thing to me at the moment. Used to be. However, we've got confirmation. I will be taking Mrs. Pineapple to see her first game at Fenway later this year. So later on this season, she'll get to see full Fenway Park, which she's very excited about.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, man.
Growing up, the Tacoma Tigers were right in my neighborhood, and they were the farm team for the Oakland A's.
Nice.
So they had a few games where the Oakland A's would come down and play them. So I got to see Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire and Ricky Henderson and all of those guys.
That's crazy.
And it was so much fun. Just watching double A ball is just a good time. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, man. It's a great time. But speaking of history and historic stuff, we had some very successful classic games, classic NBA this week. We watched.
We did.
Yeah, last night in particular, we watched Kobe, which was amazing. But we got to see Jordan and the Sonics, Jordan versus the Sonics, rather, in 1990. And we got to see Kobe Bryant dominate and outscore the entire contender Dallas Mavericks by himself in 3 quarters in one of the most impressive, heroic jobs ever. I mean, you want to talk about, no offense to the guys, they're playing their hearts out and stuff, but man, you want to talk about, carrying bums, or you want to talk about carrying the load, or you want to talk about all that stuff. Like, that's what that actually looks like.
I mean, he just hoisted that team on his back and he's like, well, I guess I got to get it done. And then he did.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I'm glad we got to watch Kobe Bryant. So yeah, we got some good games for y'all next week, but we are finalizing that on our end. But yeah, tons of more classic games going. Anybody who doesn't know, it's Tuesdays, Thursdays. We have a watch party. We all watch it together. It's just a great time. It's just a really good time. But some of the takeaways from that this week, especially as they relate to this stuff, my big thing is that I noticed a lack of complaining is what I noticed. if the vets were underperforming because they were at the tail end of their careers, like in the Sonics game, the late 80s guys, X-Man and stuff, if anybody was underperforming or having any struggles with, old injuries or anything like that, minimal complaints. They were still treated. They were still considered to be sort of, that is an issue. That is a liability for this team. Let's see how they deal with that, as opposed to lying about it and pretending that it's actually the greatest thing we've ever seen in our entire lives. And there's absolutely no problems here whatsoever. And it's everybody else's fault if that weakness gets exploited. So I like that. I thought that was very cool. And the same with Kobe. I mean, there's I think there's one future all-star who's like 6 or 7 years away from being an all-star there with Kobe. I mean, he's just got no one, at that level. I mean, you talk about a superstar, you talk about, building a thing around a superstar. I mean, there's just nobody around him there, and doesn't matter. He's going to go get it done by himself and make a point. And you just, no complaints about it. Instead, flexing, hyping up the crowd, getting everybody excited about it. And then he sits out. No stat padding, no garbage time stats, no nothing. He did his job. It's a blowout. We're going to sit down. So I like that. That's my big takeaway from this. It's just the lack of any of that kind of behavior. That's crazy.
I will say, and actually before I get into that, just a few more shout outs. Geloso, Woodage, John Freeman. Always appreciate you guys coming through. I mean, it just completely blows my mind that we just have the same names coming through all the time, which clearly just shows that you guys are here to support us and care what we have to say. And that just means the world to me. But to get into my takeaways, I absolutely agree with everything that you said. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from it was hustle. Everyone was hustling. No one was meandering. They were all up and down the court. If they happened to hit the deck, they were immediately back up. Nobody was milking anything. It just seemed like even after the Mavericks were down and the game was basically over, they still didn't quit. They were playing for heart. They were playing for pride. They were playing for the game. How can you not respect that? It just feels so lost in this modern era. So it's nice to know, and sad to know for me a little bit, that there's this time where basketball was still great and I missed it. So that game taught me a lot about where the game was after I left, and that it wasn't an immediate drop off a cliff. It was kind of a slow, gradual decline into garbage.
Yeah, the main decline I think starts 2010, 2009 to 2010. That's the steep decline, and then by the 2011 we are deep in the modern era, and then we're just watching the last greats. The last greats sort of finish it off, is what I think. But that's sort of how I view it. But yeah, Mr. Robinson actually has a great point here, weighing in here. He says, that is why I hate when they say the pace of the game is faster. They run from 3-point line to 3-point line and are looking like they are the outfield in baseball a lot of the time. Yeah, it's 100% true. I mean, every single game, and we've been somewhat choosing haphazardly, and every single one, you see sprints, baseline to baseline. You see lots of motion, lots of screens, lots of movement. Everybody, under, over, everybody switching, everything's happening, everybody's jumping, everybody's fighting for every rebound. Transition is true transition. I mean, and there's no complaining. Exactly. Geloso's calling out right now for real, and they don't complain at all. Really? That's right. So it's just a lie. Also, the idea of pace and space actually came in with the ABA anyway. So even if you want to say like, yeah, but pace and space as a strategy, like pace and space as a strategy came in with the ABA. So that's, I mean, I've said it before, pace and space, as soon as they finished building the pyramids, they started doing pace and space. So I don't want to hear anything about how that's a modern thing. But yeah, so it's extremely fast paced. There's a lot going on. Everybody's running all over the place. Personally, I think the movement today is actually slower. And even if you just want to call it in terms of like, yeah, but everybody's just fouling everybody, and they always got to stop the game every 2 seconds. There are the same amount of fouls today as there were 30 years ago. There is the same amount of stoppages. The broadcast time is about the same. None of that is different, except that they've outlawed any kind of physicality whatsoever, outlawed hand checking, and nobody really plays man-to-man coverage hardly ever. So I don't know what anybody's talking about. I don't see where it's coming from. There's no data to support that fact. It doesn't pass the eye test. If you watch the two things compared, it's just flatly not true by any metric. It's just one of those things that I think they say to disrespect or to try to tear down past eras, which, as we've talked about before, doesn't seem to happen in other sports. Very strange behavior, very weird stuff. I personally think it's Swiftie behavior. I think that is male Swifties doing that in order to make their own favorite things look better. That's what I think. But regardless of that, it's very cool to watch, though. It's very cool to watch and make up your own mind and see how those games were and enjoy it.
I agree.
And I agree with Mr. Woodage here. Says we need more Bill Lambiers. If only. If only. Geloso also shouting out to just look at Larry Bird and Kobe Bryant. They played through injuries in their careers. Facts. Yep. Yeah, they actually played through injuries as much as they possibly could. I mean, everybody was trying to get as much playtime as they possibly could. So it's pretty cool. Woodage brings up a question. Shoes are better today than in the past, but why are there more foot injuries? I'm going to actually do a whole video on that, on why there are more foot injuries and why there are so many soft tissue, connective tissue injuries, and what seems to be going on there. It's really funny, though. But spoiler, some of these injuries are exactly the same as baseball pitchers, major league pitchers get the same injuries. So, something to be said about some conditioning. When you're not doing a whole lot and then you suddenly explode, those injuries happen. So for everybody who says, oh, baseball, nothing happens. Oh, baseball, like it's weird that you're getting the same injuries from the same explosion after not doing anything. So, just tossing that out there.
No, I mean, I think it's a legitimate fact that you can't sit idly and then, go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and expect to be able to perform at that level, especially if you're not used to doing that. Like, I think part of the reason why, especially on the Bulls, there were a minimal amount of injuries is because practice was like game 7 in the finals. Nobody was half-assing it. Everybody was put in absolutely maximum effort. So game day was actually kind of a break.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That's literally a whole live. That's a whole video. But yeah, no, very good point. Very interesting point. We will definitely be talking about that. There's a whole bunch there. So, moving to our first topic, just because we have a lot to get through this week. Let's talk about Mr. James Harden. Let's talk about this gentleman. And that
James
absolute Harden collapse. I'm going to assume that nobody needs a lot of recap. If you're in this channel, you probably have seen a lot of that. I just wanted to throw my take on the James Harden stuff. His defensive collapse, guys hunting him, Kobe having called it, which is really fun to talk about. All that kind of stuff. Just if anybody's not familiar, if anybody hasn't seen that yet, but Kobe Bryant literally said that was going to happen, that teams were going to hunt him, that style of play is not going to win championships. It's too predictable, and defenses, everybody can just constantly attack that guy, and offenses can just go at him and go at players who play like that and will tend to do very well, and it's unlikely to win in championships. So, man knew what he was talking about. But anyway, what I want to really sort of key in on here is something I pointed out earlier this week as the conversation sort of peaked about that stuff, is that I find it just disgusting. It's the best example, I think, in the league, although there are many examples, where if anybody saw my flopping video and my foul baiting video and how this stuff has been optimized by these teams, I want to remind everybody that this man actually worked on this skill, worked on foul baiting, worked on it with a coach, with an actual NBA coach in Houston. Him and Bickerstaff had repeated one-on-one sessions in Houston where Harden only played offense, and they practiced arm hooks, they practiced lean-ins, they practiced timing the dribble pickup, they practiced everything. And Bickerstaff literally said that the man had an unbelievable ability to manipulate the rules. That's an actual quote by an NBA coach praising an NBA player for practicing foul baiting more than practicing defense.
That's
And
disgusting.
he's not alone in that. Austin Reeves is on record having talked about that, and he's been complimented for that as well, for specifically trying to improve his fundamental skill of initiating contact, of selling fouls, of drawing reach-ins. I mean, SGA is on record for this. Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Joel Embiid. I mean, the list goes on. This is where we're at. We have coaches who are now being hired and paid to help improve foul baiting and flopping. That is how deeply this is incentivized. This is not just, oh, I just thought I would throw myself down. This is practiced. And in Harden's case, it's practiced more than defense. So I don't know if ever there was the most perfect example of everything I was talking about in that flopping video. This is how deeply the rot, I think, has gotten. We're doing this on purpose. Like, if anybody missed that video, please go back and watch it at some point. But it's all teams, every team. It's unanimous. They have unanimously voted multiple times to protect foul baiting, to protect flopping. They voted each time, and they voted to lower the fine for it. They voted first to put a $5,000 fine in, even though you got stars making $52 million.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what a $5,000 fine is going to do. But then they voted to lower it to $2,000. So it's just nonsense. It's just crazy to me that is happening. So yeah, and then I talked a little bit about why the refs are not incentivized to call those things. Actually, specifically, the refs are incentivized to not call it. There is a much higher upside. They make more money. They get in less trouble. They have less problems if they do not call it. And in 16 years, it has only been on the points of emphasis from the league office, from Adam Silver and Senior Vice President McCutcheon, only once. But to the point where you now have teams, or you've had teams this whole time, hiring coaches and keeping coaches, retaining coaches specifically for the skill of being able to coach and teach younger players how to bait fouls and how to flop, more than teaching them defense. It is a more valuable skill. Why? Because it's so much more efficient to do that. It's more efficient. It gets you more points. To be a great defender, you have to try to counter everybody foul baiting. Whereas to be more valuable to the team, you can just practice the foul baiting. The whistle is in your favor for the entire regular season. And then in the playoffs, it's 50-50. It's a coin toss. How is this particular ref going to be in this particular game? So you're better off sort of in the aggregate, just leaning into foul baiting, leading into flopping, leading into these reach-ins, leading into timing, leading into initiating contact offensively in ways that the refs will call against the defense instead. You're incentivized to do that, and teams are optimizing for it to the point where they're not practicing defense as much. So I know I'm kind of a broken record saying that like 6 times, but that is the level of disgust that I have for that fact. I can't. It's crazy to me that I live in a world where that is the case in professional NBA basketball.
I mean, you would have been ostracized from the league for any of that behavior in the 80s and 90s, and now you're applauded for it, defended for it. I mean, obviously, if they're hiring coaches to teach that type of behavior, you're being encouraged to do it. Like, how did we get here?
It's just gross. It's because some players started doing it, some teams started doing it, and then they switched it's called the competition committee. They switched the competition committee. It used to be the GMs of all 30 teams. Then they switched that it's now a very small group, not the least of which was the GMs of the Lakers and OKC both have a seat on there. And now it's not all teams. And so that small group recommended this $5,000 fine, which didn't do anything. All the teams passed it. David Stern was even against it. He's on record telling them that that's ridiculous and that's not going to do anything. Yeah. But that's what they went for. So, but once that is voted on by the whole league, once the whole league sort of has taken its spot and now they're all starting to, set up their rosters for it. This is in the early 2010s. Once that starts, I mean, how do you get them to vote against themselves? How do you get them
right.
to vote against a, $750 million roster? How do you get them to vote against that? You have a $250 million roster, or or $500 million roster, or whatever. How do you get them to vote against that construction? How do you get them to vote against that coaching staff? Everybody's just going to optimize for that. And the less the league does about it, and the less willing they are to take the short-term hit of teams adjusting to that, well, then you're never going to do it. And Adam Silver can't even do much about it because he reports to the board of governors that is voting on this. So I think we're just stuck with it in America until people get upset enough, and that becomes the narrative. And maybe that's starting to happen, because this offseason, or this postseason, I think we've seen it louder than we've seen in a lot of years. But
agreed, there has at least been a voice against it. Not a lot, but it's been something. Players commenting on it, media commenting on it. Hopefully, it's the beginning. Because like you had mentioned in that video, I mean, them voting against it would be a huge... It wouldn't be self-serving. It would be counterproductive because their teams are set up to... Man, my brain is just not working today.
Yeah. They're set up to exploit it. They're set up to make maximum use of that.
Exploit it. Exactly.
Yep, I got you.
So, man, it's offensive.
Yeah, but that's the point. My thing with the James Harden thing is just what a great example of what I'm talking about. What a great demonstration of what I was talking about in there, where as a young guy coming into the league, you will train foul baiting, you will train flopping more than you will train defense. Like, that is a more valuable fundamental skill in today's NBA. Like, that to me is the disgusting part of the thing. It's not that you practice that extra. It's that is rewarded more. That has a higher ROI for investing your time and energy into. You're better off doing one-on-one drills for foul baiting. Like, what are we doing? What is this? This is supposed to be the greatest basketball in the world, and that's what we're practicing. Like, it's just, is the next great star going to be the guy who shows up 3 hours early or 5 hours early to the gym to practice more foul baiting? Is that what the future looks like of this? Like, I mean, is there going to be a sport documentary one day that tries to shove that in my face? Like, wow, can you believe it? Imagine he showed up 5 hours early to have one-on-ones where he could practice falling on the floor like a toddler. Like, what? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's where that's at this point. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I do want to highlight this comment, though. Vicente Garcia said, why not double dip? Call the game correctly and get money from us old heads to boot. So that is an interesting thing that I think is happening, because I noticed that NBC, I don't know if you all remember, anyone who was here in earlier, I think it was last week's live, I was talking about a little bit about NBC's sort of demographics and what demographics they're going for. And they're mostly going for older, kind of disillusioned fans and nostalgia and all that. You'll notice that NBC is the only one who's run any kind of little package showing some of that, and not calling it out, but pointing it out anyway, and saying at least little things. They won't do it to the Lakers. They won't do it. They didn't do it in the Lakers OKC. But they did do it in the Western Conference Finals. They did run a little package to talk about people falling down and the fouls and, the too many calls and this, that, and the other. So I do think NBC is trying, to Vicente Garcia's point, is trying to appeal to exactly that, trying to appeal to more old heads, trying to appeal to people who are not happy about this.
Yeah.
So whereas ESPN is trying to pretend that, that's actually good and that it was all Luka's fault somehow.
Yep.
4 years after LeBron James got fined for the behavior, they're saying that Luka taught him how to do it 4 years later. So I don't know what the hell ESPN is on about. ESPN is clearly not trying to win back old heads or anybody who knows any basketball, beyond, I don't know, the last 5 to 10 years. But NBC is, and that's what I'm talking about. I think over the years, and when there's less risk to them, like I said, they won't do it to the Lakers, but to younger stars, NBC seems to be a little bit more willing to kind of poke the bear a bit and point that kind of stuff out. And, we can only hope that over the next 9 years of their broadcast deal, that they will keep doing that. And hopefully that will raise some level of pressure in the next sort of rules committee meetings and stuff. And
Sure.
in the next collective bargaining agreement. But, we'll see. But we do have some kind of like half ally in NBC, at least when it comes to flopping and foul baiting.
I agree. And I think, the reality is NBC came back for old heads. They have demonstrated that in their, like, playing the old NBA on NBC Music. They did an AI reproduction of, oh my God, I can't remember the guy's name.
But yeah, you're right.
Anyway, it's gone. They've done a lot of things to try to bring back old heads into the game. So it would be in their best interest to fight for those old heads.
Yeah. I don't expect them to fight a whole lot, but I do expect them to at least appeal to us, which amplifies then the fan, outrage about it. But, it's a long-term take that they're not going to do anything immediately, and they're not incentivized to do anything immediately, but they are incentivized to try to please older fans. So
yes.
So that could help amplify some of that. That could help put a little bit of pressure over the course of the next 9 years. I know everybody wants it solved immediately. So do I, but it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be a gradual thing.
It will. It'll be slow. And like I said last night, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. But those incentives are at least somewhat aligned, at least on issues like that, where, sort of fan incentives, what fans are interested in, what fans want to see improve. And NBC does want to please those fans who want to see that improve. So at least there's that.
Sure.
I like this comment here. Mr. Robinson says, I think it's because today integrity and honor aren't valued. Flopping isn't shamed how it should. Scamming isn't shamed how it used to be. And it will be seen by many today as being smart or a hack. It is. I think that's exactly how it's seen. I think it's seen as like, well, if those are the rules, then let's, then it's smart to, ruin the thing. And could be, but over time that lowers brand value, and that lowers that player's brand value, and then they're kind of stuck. Once that reputation is there, you never shake it. So, it's extractive, it's very short-term thinking, which unfortunately that's how most of the NBA is now. But it does eventually run into consequences, and then the next group wants to avoid those consequences. So I do think that's true. But to your point about integrity and honor aren't value, I remembered, what was it, about a year ago? I'll never forget it. I remember about a year ago, I was in, I think it was Sports and Fitness's live. He was talking about something with honor and stuff. And I remember there was a fanboy who literally said, "What are you talking about? There is no honor in sports." So,
not anymore.
So in terms of speculating on whether or not that's something that people think, yes, that is actually from the mouths of fanboys. They believe there's no honor in sports and that there shouldn't be. Oh, okay then. So I guess we're stuck with that.
Real quick, I do want to give some shout outs. Mike Lowry, thank you for joining us. JW in the house, Nemo LA in the house. St. Philip near me in the house. I appreciate you guys joining us, and you guys always have such great takes. That's one of the things that I love about our consistent watchers or viewers is they bring knowledge. They all have a deep understanding of the game. They all hold it to an incredibly high standard. They refuse to accept mediocrity or lower the bar or move the goalposts. And that's what I'm all about.
Yeah. JW says players can't deal with the probability of becoming a clip if they get embarrassed on defense. 100%.
Yep.
100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's absolutely it. What's going on, Nemo? Good to see you. St. Philip near me says, if I'm Cleveland, I would play Dennis Schroeder more minutes and sit Harden. I don't care how much money he's making. Defensively, he's a major liability and refuses to help on D2. Yeah. I mean, his job is to get them through. His job is to help them with the regular season. He's not there to win a specific series. He's there to accumulate enough free throws, enough free points that in the aggregate they do well. They get a playoff run, and people in Cleveland can be happy that, oh, look, we're getting to the playoffs. It's improving. And then that's about it. He's not there to win a championship. He's not there to actually go deep. He's not there to help them actually do anything. He's only there, I think, to make it to the regular season, because that's all that strategy is able to do. And even Kobe Bryant called it out early on.
Yeah.
And especially since, as I said, the man literally goes to practice and practices doing exactly that. So you can't tell me that's not his goal when that's what he shows up to practice.
No, it's obviously he's putting his time where it's best served to him, I guess.
Yeah, that's what's high. That's
disgusting.
That's what's most incentivized. That's the highest return for his investment. So that's what he's doing there. So yeah, if it were me, as soon as we got to the playoffs, then all right, you sit down. Like, you did your job. You hacked your way to get us to help us get to the playoffs. Now sit down.
Especially since, I mean, your reputation should precede you. And James Harden's reputation in the playoffs is he's a magician and he will make himself disappear entirely.
Yeah.
Why somebody would why the Cavs even went after him is crazy. Like, clearly you don't have any interest in winning.
Because he's cheap. Honestly, he's not very expensive.
No, I mean, he's not, but
for the name recognition, he's really not very expensive. So he's a cheap play for a mid-market team. He's a cheap play that helps them get to the playoffs and restores some excitement about Cleveland and puts them back in the conversation, even if it virtually guarantees that they can't actually win anything.
Right.
So I really think that's what he's there for. It makes sense to me as a mid-market strategy. If you can't afford people who can actually get you to contend, and you don't want to wait, or you're impatient, or you don't want to actually properly rebuild, because you got to remember they were also gutted. I mean, they mortgaged so much of their future for LeBron. Prior to LeBron leaving, that they're just now starting to be able to actually rebuild something. So It's not surprising to me that they want to at least touch the playoffs a little bit quickly to get people in Cleveland more excited, keep attendance up, and then actually try to rebuild something, hopefully more real, hopefully for Cleveland fans. Hopefully they'll be able to do some smart investing and good drafting and stuff like that. But James Harden keeps them in the conversation for very cheap without actually getting them anywhere. I think really that's their goal. That's my take on it. That's my, theory, I suppose.
I mean, it's a valid theory. And, James Harden is a name that I didn't see a lot of his career. I was going to say, I didn't see when he scored 31, averaged 31 for that one season or whatever, when he was foul baiting like no other. But he's still a name that comes up, especially for modern NBA apologists. I constantly hear, whenever they're talking about greatest scorers, they're always talking about him. I mean, I personally don't get it. I haven't seen the majority of his career, but from what I have seen, just because you can make some shots doesn't make you a great scorer, and it certainly doesn't make you an all-time great scorer. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, but I've never been impressed.
Yeah, I agree. Geloso says the Cavs need to let Mitchell be the leader and the one to control the pace and get the role players into the game, and James need to sit down, period. That's going to be the question. The question is going to be how much of this rubs off on Mitchell. Does Mitchell follow this, or does Mitchell do his own thing, sort of play it better and have more long-term success? Going to be an interesting thing to see. We'll talk more about LeBron's options later, but if LeBron does go to Cleveland, then I think that's the end of Mitchell.
For sure.
I think that's the nail in that coffin, but that's all right. But speaking of that kind of stuff, I think that is actually a great segue over to the Western Conference Finals and what has been going on over there. So that is, because all the accusations of foul baiting or crying about fouls or flopping or crying about flopping and all this kind of stuff. And I got to tell you, it's, nobody's going to like my take. I'm going to be right down the middle and nobody's going to like it. And that's all right. But I am just very confused by it. I just don't. It's really funny and really weird to me. I don't see what I don't see how either side of this is so no, I don't want to say dogmatic. That's not the right word. I don't know what the word is, but it seems to me that everybody's more upset about the double standard or the inconsistency of the officiating more than what they actually say that they're mad at. You know what I mean? Like it's not that Wemby's getting fouled a bunch and they're not calling it. It's that they are calling a bunch of stuff in favor of OKC rather than calling those fouls. So like, can it be physical or can it not be physical? And so then you have like equal and opposite arguments going both ways when that's what's happening. Like either call it or don't, or leave it alone, you know? So, but people really, getting really heated about it. It's actually impressive. I didn't think that people would be that upset or that, there would be all this. And it's been a lot more than anything we saw in I think Lakers OKC. I think this is hotter. Which I think is funny.
So.
GOAT versus MVP generated way less conversation
Yeah.
Than MVP and runner-up to MVP has generated. So if that doesn't tell you that nobody gives a crap about LeBron or GOAT stuff, nothing does, I guess. But it's really weird. I think that's really strange because I would expect for fans on each side to be more consistent about it. Like I would expect to be excited to see the physicality against Wemby and for Wemby to have to toughen up and deal with that physicality and all that kind of stuff. And then we're all upset that that they're giving so many whistles to OKC, or that just OKC, even if they don't get the whistle, just that they are playing that way, that they are throwing themselves on the ground, even if they don't actually get a whistle. The fact that they're doing it, I think, is what people get upset about.
Yeah.
But I would expect for the majority to be sort of either that way or that, wow, OKC is getting fouled a bunch. That's good. You should be calling this against Wemby as well. There shouldn't be this amount of physicality in the league. That shouldn't exist. That nobody should be throwing elbows like that. Nobody should be grabbing each other's arms. Nobody should be playing that way. But instead, I think what we're seeing, which I think is just weird, is, my side is 100% correct and the other side is the problem. Either, these are all legit and they're just crying about it, or these are all not legit and the refs need to stop whistling anything.
Yeah.
And that's surprising. I didn't expect that. I just find that a very interesting observation.
So my take on the Western Conference Finals, also no one is going to like. Whether you're a Spurs fan or an OKC fan, you're not going to like what I have to say.
That's good. Let's take the streak now.
I was going to say, I also don't care. So I have not watched the entirety of any of the games because the reality is I just can't be fucking bothered. But I do have two takeaways from game one and game two. In game one, it was, oh my God, look at Wemby. He's the greatest. He's the most complete basketball player ever. Game two, OKC takes it. Oh my God, look at Shea. He's fantastic. Look at what he's done. All that demonstrated to me is neither of these players can be consistent. They will have a great game, and then they will have a terrible game. And then they'll have another terrible game, and then they'll have a great game. And when they play badly, everybody forgets because they come back and they have a good game and they're like, oh my God, look how absolutely dominant they are. He's proving he's the MVP. Well, from everything that I've seen, I'm not impressed. Like, I hate to say that, but it's just true. Like, I watched a fair amount of Lakers versus OKC and I was like, this is the MVP? Like, this is the best that the NBA has to offer because he's playing mediocre at best. And then Wemby, sure, he did. He had a great game in game one. What, like 41 and 25 or something? 41 and 24? It's a solid game, but it's a solid game in an incredibly weak era. He's not doing that against genuine opposition or against elite offensive talent. He's just doing it against guys. I mean, I don't want to disparage their talent because I mean they obviously have more talent than myself, but like they always like to shoehorn these players into conversations with actual greats. Like people were talking about Wemby and Akeem and Wemby and Shaq and Shea and Jordan and Shea and Kobe. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They don't have the consistency that those players had. They weren't playing under the same standards as those players. So when you make comparisons like that, I'm sorry, I'm offended. They're not doing it under the same rules with the same opposition. I'm sorry, but I can't glorify that into something that it isn't.
Yeah, I think partly it's overhyping, but I think a lot of it is also just this need to compare and that's what I don't understand. I don't understand why modern stars must be, especially the young ones, why they must be compared to everybody before them. Like I don't remember this conversation happening in former eras. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I'm happy to be corrected, but even when we've been watching these classic games, like I haven't really heard any of that. I haven't heard anything about like a young Jordan and how like, oh my God, this puts all other, this puts Oscar Robertson to shame. This puts everybody, this puts Jerry West to shame. This puts everybody.
Exactly.
Like the conversation was always about them compared to their peers in the league at the time. You know what I mean? Kobe, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of, oh my God, is he the next Jordan? Is he better than Jordan? Right. But even there, the conversation was mostly about, is he the next Jordan? And that's what the conversation was at the time. If you remember, like that's what they said about, T-Mac when he was first getting in the league. That's what they said. I mean, they said that about a whole bunch of guys. We went through the list a couple lives ago. But to me, I think that's a very weird thing to do. Like, how are you going to say this guy is, up there with Hakeem and Shaq? How are you going to say this guy's up there with anybody in his first playoff series? Like, he should be compared, I think, to other centers in the league right now. You can say he's the best center, or he's the fastest rising center, or whatever you want to say about it. Whatever basketball arguments you want to make. But I would confine it to currently, because what is he, like 23 or something like that? He's 23 years old or something like that. Like, I mean, he's not
21, maybe. Like he's young.
Yeah, so like it's ridiculous to immediately start, questioning whether or not he's better than Hakeem or better than like. Man, you're going to have to play like a decade and earn that kind of conversation. And it's a pointless conversation. He doesn't need to be better than Hakeem. He doesn't need to be better than Shaq. I'm not trying to turn on the TV and see something that is just leagues better than the greatest to ever play that position or the greatest to ever play basketball. I want to see good basketball right now, like in front of me right now. Like I was watching today. I've been watching the Euroleague Final Four started today. If anybody's into Euroleague, we're going to talk about that in a second, but I was watching that today. Some of those guys were in the NBA for a couple of years. Some of those guys have seen NBA minutes. Some of them have seen actually real NBA minutes. Most of them have not. Most of them have never seen it. They're not as skilled. Some of them are just flat out not as skilled as the guys in the NBA. But if they're going to play basketball, if they're going to play real basketball, and they're actually going to go at each other and they're going to do it, I think, put a better product on the court, that's what I want to watch. I don't need him to be better than Michael Jordan. I just need him to be fun to watch. I need it to be entertaining. I need it to be good basketball. So I don't see why everything needs to be immediately spoken of that way. Because in my opinion, it makes them look worse. I think it makes them look worse to guys who have seen those players. If you grew up and you knew and you actually saw Hakeem play, or you saw Shaq play, or you saw Duncan Robinson play, you know what I mean? Like if you saw these kinds of players play, you're rejecting any of that immediately. Like there's just no universe you can make that argument yet. But if you tell me that, he's one of the best in the league right now, or that we're excited to see him square up against whoever, because these two are the best right now, that I might actually turn on to see. If I can see them playing basketball against each other, I don't need them to be better than, Hakeem in the past. I need one of them to be better than the other one right now. I need them to play hard at each other right now. I need them to not flop. I need them to not foul bait. I need them to actually play basketball against each other right now. That is all you actually need to earn my subscription. to earn my ticket purchase, to earn my jersey purchase, to earn my sneaker purchase, to earn whatever the hell you want it is that you want me to pay. That's what I need. You deliver that, I will deliver money. You deliver all this bullshit and you try to tell me that every 21-year-old in the NBA is better than the greatest to ever play basketball in the last 70 years. Sorry, my wallet's closed. I don't give a shit what you have to say. I'm going to go watch Europe. I'm going to go watch the YMCA. I'm going to go watch the guys at in the asphalt over here by the beach. Guys who are, practically, super retired, probably going to die in the next 5 years. Doesn't matter. They're still trying. I'd still rather watch that.
Well, and I think you make an incredibly apt point, is when they make the comparison against all-time greats, I'm immediately checked out. All it does is make me think in my mind, they're absolutely not on that level. So it's making me diminish them in my mind, even if it's subconsciously. As soon as they make that comparison, I'm thinking, no, they're not. If they made that comparison in an apt way, like comparing Wemby to Holmgren, great. That's a valid comparison. I could look at those two players in real time and say, yeah, you know what? Maybe Wemby is better, or maybe Holmgren is more consistent. It's when they shoehorn them into a conversation they have no relevance in that I want to check out. And like you said, I just immediately close my wallet. That I'm not going to pay for your product anymore, and I'm going to find every possible way to not give you my money, because you're trying to gaslight me into believing something that isn't true. And I know it isn't true. So I'm sorry, but I'm not buying your snake oil. You can't convince me that mediocrity is greatness. You may be able to convince a lot of people, but you can't convince me.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, exactly. I think this is a great comment here. Mr. Robinson says they don't let the work speak for itself. They need to be validated like Mean Girls. To show worth it needs to be done. Sorry, the show worth it needs to be done with comparison. They need to tear down legacy to show value. That's exactly it. I think that's 100% it. I just could never have said that better. But I really think that's sort of where they're at this point, is they need to do that, because either the product is actually weak, either the players actually are terrible, or they're too insecure about it, or they don't think people would show up just to watch them be as good as they actually are. So personally, I think the way that they have the rules now, I think the way that they whistle, I think the way that they've set this up makes it difficult to watch. I think it's extremely difficult to watch. You don't let them play basketball and you incentivize them to not play basketball. Well, then it makes sense that, it's not as good to turn it on if you're expecting basketball. That makes perfect sense. I have no problem with that logic, but that's what I would like to see change. But as far as how they're actually playing, I think there's a lot to like with Wemby. I think there's a lot to like with OKC. I think there's a lot to like with a lot of these sort of younger guys. I've liked the way that SGA talks about his teammates. We mentioned this before. When I found that out, that he, when he was asked about, how he's been doing well and a good performance, he mentioned that, playing with this particular squad and these teammates, makes it easy for him to do very well. I thought that's a good attitude. I think that's nice, not to immediately say that, well, the other team just had more talent than us because my team is terrible and garbage. And, you didn't see any of that kind of LeBron behavior. So I like that about them. I like that Wemby is, I like that he's sort of hustling. I like that he's getting more physical with these guys. I like that he has some level of rivalry and does seem to play for a little bit more pride against Chet. That apparently came in from Europe. So I think that's cool that he, still goes at him and stuff. I don't really see a lot of the older stars go at each other just as a point of pride. So I do like that. So I think there is things to like. I think there are a lot of things to like there. I would like to see that stuff be emphasized. I would like that stuff to be talked about more. And I would like to see their games and that stuff be sort of judged on their merits, and leave Hakeem out of this. Leave Shaq out of this. Leave the old everything out of this. No, current OKC is not the same as the 86 Celtics. That's an insane thing to say. It is. Stop it. Just absolutely stop it. Just talk about them on their own merits. If they're not good enough, they're not good enough. If they're good enough or entertaining enough on their own merits, maybe I will watch it then. But stop. Just stop. Stop telling me that this is the greatest team in history just to justify LeBron losing to it. Like, it's just not true. It's ridiculous. And if it was true, what does that say about the Spurs? They're currently tied right now. Does that mean the Spurs are even better than that? Like, is everything that OKC loses to better than that? Like, what are we doing? Like, you box yourself into these corners where, right here, actually, as Nemo's saying right now, Nemo says, also, the media has lost credibility because they've been lying to the audience for years. They lost the trust. We know that what we're looking at. That's exactly what's on the board here on the screen is the main takeaway from all of this. It's just a low trust thing. We no longer trust the things they say. We don't trust the narratives that they put out. We don't, it's the same as like sponsored posts on Instagram. We just don't trust it anymore. And now we're not even trusting the refs anymore. On either side, Spurs fans are not trusting the refs because they're not blowing it for Wemby. OKC fans are not trusting it. Like, nobody's trusting it because they see their players fall down on the ground after taking a jump shot without anybody touching them, and they think they should get a whistle because they were getting whistles for it all year. Like, stop. Everybody just stop it. We need to restore trust in the NBA, and currently I don't see how that's going to happen. Maybe gradually within 5 to 9 years. But I think that's where everybody's at. I think the trust is just so broken for everybody. Like, I think that's where it's at. And Rich Paul is not helping. Thank you for making a podcast, Rich Paul, because, man, if you believe in accelerationism at all, then Rich Paul is your favorite person. Like, if you believe that it needs to get worse before it gets better, thank you, Rich Paul, for going out there 3 days a week and making it infinitely worse, infinitely faster. Maybe the better days will get here faster thanks to this nonsense. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at with that. But otherwise, what I have seen of the Western Conference Finals has been interesting. I don't think it's a crazy thing one way or the other, and I also don't think it's the most historic thing to ever happen. Like, it just seems like, oh, okay, cool. These young guys are getting better, and these young teams are showing some interesting possibilities. Hopefully that will get better over time. Hopefully it doesn't get worse. Some of these things are ridiculous and are stupid, but I really just think like everybody just calm down. Everybody calm down and everybody get on the same page and just demand consistency one way or the other, because the double standard is not working.
Yep. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's just, they really just need to pump the brakes. Like, let things be what they are in the moment that they're being them. OKC may become an all-time great team, but they're not there now. So why are we pretending that they are? And of course, I mean, there's a reason why we're pretending that they are.
Because LeBron
They have to turn every team that beats LeBron into this insurmountable obstacle that no one could have beat. Yes. However, until the Spurs beat them, which, I mean, may or may not happen, but if the Spurs win, then the Spurs will have to be the greatest team of all time. Like, they just have to keep passing the baton to the next team to make the next team more insurmountable and more insurmountable.
Yeah. Well, you don't see it. You don't see that behavior the other way, right? Like when OKC lost to the Spurs, you're not seeing that, oh, actually the Spurs are the greatest. This Spurs is actually the greatest team in the history of professional sports, period. You're not seeing that. But they would have to be, wouldn't they? For the level of historic that OKC is to justify LeBron losing to them, then presumably if they lose even one game to the Spurs, that means that the Spurs are the craziest thing in the history of sports. Like, none of it makes sense. But that would be what we'd be arguing about, right? If they were consistent about it. What bugs me is that they say that when LeBron loses to OKC, and they do not continue saying that when OKC loses to the Spurs. Like, they know they're obviously that is insane. Obviously that's a lie, and they know it. Or else, if they really believed it, they would carry that forward. They would keep being consistent about it. But the fact that they're not tells me that you're full of it. You know that you're full of it because you're not going to go the next step. You're not going to say the next part.
Well, so Nemo Los Angeles brings up a good word that I like to use and that I've heard many people use. It takes mental gymnastics to
Yeah.
make LeBron great. It takes mental gymnastics. You have to be an absolute elite mental gymnast to get to the equation ending with him being great. Because if you look at it with any context or under any merit, it just falls apart.
Yeah. I mean, it does. But they don't believe it. The proof that they don't believe it is the fact that they won't continue it. That's what I think. So, but otherwise though, just looking at the two teams objectively, I think for where they are in the league, I think for where they are in development, and I think for the way the league is at the moment, seems good, seems entertaining. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It just seems like, okay, this is something. I hope that develops into something good. I hope that does not get poisoned further into something even more terrible. But I just that's where I'm at with it. But I think it is the biggest example of how low the trust has gotten and how deep the lies have gotten. Around all of this stuff. That sort of thing.
No, I agree.
So, because you could also imagine, right? Just go with me on this journey, everyone. Let's say that the Lakers didn't play OKC. Let's say that the Lakers lost to the Spurs, and then the Spurs were going to go play OKC. I'm betting that we'd be hearing right now about how the Spurs are basically the 86 Celtics, and the Spurs are basically the most unstoppable thing in the universe, and OKC is actually garbage.
Yep.
I'm betting that whichever one of those beat LeBron, that would be the greatest team in the history of teams in order to justify LeBron losing to it.
They would have turned the Rockets into the greatest team ever.
They almost did. They almost tried.
Yep. They were starting to when the Rockets were making that comeback. You started to hear it.
If you beat the Rockets without a 37-year-old KD, you're the GOAT. Like, okay. I mean, I guess. Like, where are you getting this from? But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's constant, and no other player gets that. You know what I mean? Nobody's giving Wemby, for example, here's the other one, right? Nobody is giving Wemby enormous amounts of credit. None of those people are giving Wemby the credit of how clearly he should be the MVP. He might actually be the greatest basketball player in the history of the universe, right? Because of how he's doing against OKC, the greatest team in history.
Yeah.
Right? You would think that if that were true, then Wemby would have to be the greatest player in the history of anything, because unlike LeBron, he's able to take a game off of OKC, whereas LeBron got swept. So surely that makes Wemby the GOAT, because if OKC is the greatest team in the history of sports, Wemby beating them should make him the better. Like, I don't know. But they don't do any of this. It's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. It's all manufactured. and I just, so it's better just to mute them or not talk about them at all. But then you start a YouTube channel talking about the NBA, and then YouTube is constantly immediately start spamming you with every stupid thing these people say. And then you get mad about it, and then you end up on a live bitching about it. So that's the story of how that got here.
So I have to mention this comment only because it's self-serving, so I apologize for that. But RP Robinson says, let's not forget that LeBron is not selfish, because unlike Jordan and Kobe, he did not have two parents at home. The wise words of the Apostle Rich Paul. So that is exactly what my most recent video today is about. And the video is titled "The Excuse That Offends Me the Most," because that is the excuse that offends me the most.
It is.
But also, I really implore all of you to go watch that video, because while it does start with that stupid fucking narrative, I end it with what sports means. And I am genuinely curious to hear how all of you feel about it. So please watch it. Please comment. I'm not looking for glaze. I'm just looking for honesty. You don't have to be a yes man or a sycophant to tell me, oh, fantastic video. Don't even acknowledge the video at all. I'm just curious to hear what you guys think about what I said about sports about halfway to the end of that video. Now I'll shut up about it.
Mark Raving Mad says, I love this, even if they were that logically consistent, they'd pivot to, but let's see if Wemby can do it at 41.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. You'd think you'd be waiting for that, right? You'd think you'd be waiting. Well, anybody can be good, at 21 or 23 years old or whatever he is. But let's see, we got to wait now for somebody to get to 41 before we can say that they're anything. Like, you don't see that either. That's an outstanding point. They just don't carry that energy forward for anybody else ever. And it's just gross. It's just gross. And it's just straight up lies. It's just, there's no other way to say it. It's just what it is. But on that note, I want to shout out to Euroleague. Probably going to lose half of you, and I'm not going to talk about it for very long. But the Final Four of Euroleague got underway today. We had Olympiacos, who I am primarily watching and have been watching because the two Serbian teams did not even make it to the playoffs. But so Olympiacos, the Greek teams, are then fun to watch, and Valencia is fun to watch as well this year. But anyway, so there's a point I want to make about that though. So one of the games was Olympiacos against Istanbul. They won. It was great. It was phenomenal basketball. It was an absolute great time. This guy's probably going to get back-to-back MVPs, which is just wild. Very rarely happens over there. So very cool. If anybody's into EuroLeague, that's really fun. I know we have had some in the chat before who were into EuroLeague. While actually it just finished while we were live, was Real Madrid and Valencia were playing each other. And there's a guy on Real Madrid that I want to call attention to. Is this guy named Sergio Ball. Sergio Ball is his name. And he is sort of the longevity guy. He's like the Cal Ripken Jr. over there for Madrid. He has played some nonsense. I think it's like 456 games straight. And EuroLeague is a lot shorter than the NBA. I mean, the whole thing is done very quickly. So the fact that he's done some 400 and something games is wild for him. But anyway, so he's much older now. I want to say he's like 38, 37, 38, so he's a lot older than most of the guys in EuroLeague. And he's been there for ages. He's primarily a great perimeter shooter, phenomenal three-point shooter. But he's older now, and that's a lot of years to hit 400 and something thing. It's like 19 or 20 years that he's been doing this. Anyway, there was this long discussion of him. This is the Final Four, right? So this is the semifinals. There was this long, like almost 10-minute discussion about him that they kept coming back to throughout the game, talking about how he's still lethal and he still makes some game-winning shots. He still makes some really clutch shots sometimes, but it's really dangerous to put him in because he's 37, 38, whatever he is, because he's so much slower now and because he's such a defensive liability. It will be fascinating to see how they strategize around that, because it can give the other team, it can give Valencia a huge window where their younger guys can come in and just go right at him. So we'll see if they save any timeouts. We'll see it. And there was this whole debate for like 10 minutes about the pros and cons. He's a fan favorite. He can still hit these big clutch shots. However, he is old and he is a liability and he's no longer as fast as he was. And he can't play the defense that he used to be able to play anymore. And so how are both teams going to handle it? And, at what point is he going to retire? But as long as he can still contribute sometimes, it's still really cool. But can you still play him in the big moments? And there was this whole debate around it. And my mind was just blown. I was speechless. My jaw hit the floor when they were talking about this. And I was just like, oh, so there are places where you are allowed to say exactly those things. Like, how many times have we talked about the defensive liability of LeBron? Like, how many AOH breakdowns, how many AOH videos have we seen where he's just standing there, literally watching people walk by him, 2 feet away, not boxing out anybody and everything. But they cannot say that that's a liability. They cannot say that that's a problem. Like, they can't strategize around this. They can't construct their roster for this. The opposing team can't talk about that. Like, his teammates can't talk about that. Like, nobody can say any of that stuff. And the announcers don't mention any of it. It's just like, well, he's still the GOAT, obviously. So if he loses, OKC must be basically the 86 Celtics. And it's like, could you maybe just, I don't know. It was just the wildest thing to me. I just couldn't believe it. So anyway, I promise there won't be a ton of EuroLeague right now, but I do hope that, I mean, I'm going to keep talking a little bit about it, mentioning it next year, especially as the NBA Europe stuff gets going. There's a lot of really interesting things to talk about with that. And I'm hot on it. I'm actually really excited to see how that situation develops. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the offseason because I am personally fascinated by that. So I hope that some of you may find that fascinating.
For sure.
But if anybody doesn't know, it's like, I think it might actually be cheaper now, but it's like $18 or something to watch the entire final, to watch the entire finals of the semifinals.
I just looked at it.
Yeah, it's the semifinals and the finals. Yeah, you can watch the whole thing for $18. It's great. Just literally go to EuroTV's website and they have an app that works on just about everything. But it's great basketball. It's really cool. But I just couldn't believe that they were spending all that time talking about it and paying him all the respect in the world for everything that he's done for that team and for how great he was. And also talking about what a liability it is to have him still on the court and how to balance those things. And it's just, I don't know. It was just amazing. It was amazing to see. Last time I saw that was the Orioles literally talking about Cal Ripken Jr. Nobody said any of these people were the greatest of all time. They were beloved guys. They were good. They had great primes. Now they're old. Now we have to deal with that fact because they're going to be on the court. Period. If he's too old to be a starter, then he's not starting. Done. Like if he can't keep up as a starter, then he's not starting. They're not saying that everybody else on Madrid is terrible to keep him a starter. He's not starting. He played like 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. Yeah. EuroLeague games are a little bit shorter. I should mention they're 8 minutes shorter. So that would be the equivalent of him playing maybe 8 minutes, in the NBA. So I don't know, just a really cool thing that happened. So, if you are interested in that, I highly recommend checking it out. And I would watch the two semifinal games from today. It's very cool.
It's nice to know that the rest of the world hasn't completely lost their fucking minds and that you can be respectful to someone, respectful to their career without turning it into something it never was.
Yeah, you don't have to be dishonest about it.
Like, was Cal Ripken utter elite at the end of his career? No. And they were pretending that he was. And that wasn't a discredit to him. It wasn't disrespectful to what he did or what he meant to the Orioles. It was just the reality of the situation. Why can't we live in reality anymore?
Yeah. And he was great. I mean, nobody hated him. Nobody disliked him. But nobody said he was the GOAT of baseball either. Like,
no.
It's okay. It's okay. So I don't know. At a certain point, it just becomes a human, fear of being seen as old. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Or just money. Maybe I'm just trying to be idealistic, but maybe it is actually just as disgusting as that. Maybe it's just the money.
I think there's some level of truth to that. Like, hopefully not as much as it probably is, but there's definitely a morsel of truth in that for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's really fun. If anybody's interested in that, you should go check it out. It was really cool, and I think the finals, as this moves on, it's going to be even better. But it's very cool. It's very cool stuff. But yes, other places have real basketball still, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic to see. So to me, it's the only hope at this point. NCAA rotates too quickly. Yeah. And so to me, I think Europe and EuroLeague are really the way. So one more little thing about that is on the other side of that, Istanbul, who lost to Olympiacos today, but Istanbul was getting roasted because they started falling too far behind, got desperate, and started just chucking up threes, and they got roasted for it. I mean, roasted for it. Like, they were just, you can't be doing that. Like, it's such a low percentage shot. Like, it's not like, and I think they went like 7 for like 30 or something, and everybody was roasting them. They were getting booed and everything. Like, it was crazy. Like, nobody liked it, and it didn't work, and they lost. Yeah, and they lost because it didn't work.
Huh? I mean, what's crazy is when the Celtics did that, they even said after the game, we're not changing our our game plan. Well, then you're fucking idiots. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
But Olympiacos instead stuck to their play, stuck to motion, a lot of mid ranges coming out of Olympiacos, which was cool. A lot of post play, just really good looks, really good ball movement, and it just completely destroyed trying to chuck all these threes. Like the whole game was just a series of like 8-0 runs, 9-0 runs. Like that was pretty cool. It was cool to see. But it's just something different. But it's just cool to know that still exists out there, and I hope that has a positive influence on the NBA as NBA Europe gets underway. So that's my hope for that.
I absolutely hope so.
So, but that takes us over to, as was mentioned earlier, the Rich Paul nonsense. You want to go first?
I touched on it a little bit just because that is what my video was about, of him trying to disparage Kobe and Jordan because they had two parents. I really go into it in my video of just the complete idiocy that is making the excuse that, oh, I came from a single family home, the world was out to get me and nothing is fair. And oh my God. I grew up in a single family home. I don't have a single memory of my parents in the same room at the same time for my entire life. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I just think it's ludicrous, especially then to even associate selfishness with parents as if one has anything to do with the other, and to use that as a weapon to try to take away from two all-time greats is just desperate and pathetic. That's pretty much all I have to say, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I think I agree with literally everything that everybody has said about how unbelievably nonsensical and stupid and ridiculous it is. But I want to go one little step further, or rather one step back, just to back up for a second. So the Lakers are not real contenders. The Lakers need major trades, major changes, major trades, right? We need to get rid of Austin Reeves for Jaren Jackson Jr. That would be an extremely smart move to do, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, OKC is wildly more talented. Clearly, OKC is one of the greatest teams to have ever played the game. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, sure, they're killer instinct players. They're clutch gene players. Sure, they're great scorers. But LeBron is better in so many other areas that I can't quite name. Also, MJ and Kobe have the reason that they have any of that stuff is because they grew up in two-parent households, whereas LeBron obviously is extremely unselfish because he grew up, with a single parent. Okay. This is everything. These are all the different conversations that this man has spewed since LeBron started performing poorly against OKC. I think that's a wide array of topics. I think that's a whole lot of things to talk about. I think that's an enormous amount of nonsense to say in such an extremely short amount of time. To me, that reeks of flooding the zone. You're just going to say as many things as you can, whatever of them can get whatever controversy or clicks or any of that kind of stuff that you can get. Number one, so that everybody stops talking about how your client played poorly, how your client did not deliver, how your client did not deliver results, how your client, and also the whole clutch thing, the whole, not clutch, but, that he's better in the clutch.
Yes.
AOH was talking about that with Colin Cowherd and Nick Wright, talking about this, about his clutch shots, which they left out some stats. I'm hoping AOH will be able to join us to talk about that. But all of these things are all things that he has said only since LeBron started playing poorly against OKC. As soon as he was getting cooked in that series, suddenly we're hearing all of these things. Who should go? What all the problems are with the Lakers? How he's not appreciated? What's going on? Like, psychology of children born in various types of households. Like whether Kobe has a clutch gene or not, whether Michael Jordan is actually better or not in all these other ways or any of this other shit. Obviously, I would want MJ to take that shot. But even though I'm then going to say and have Colin and Nick Wright go and say that Michael Jordan should not take that shot, I'm going to say that Michael Jordan should take that shot, but also that LeBron is better in every other way of basketball. Like, that's a lot of stuff for like a week and a half. I mean, in 10 days, he has made all of those points. So I think it's to put as much distance, sort of narratively speaking, as much distance between LeBron's shitty play against OKC and his contract negotiation with LA. I think it's that flooding the zone bullshit. I think he's done it every year. I think he always does that whenever LeBron James is underperforming. It's not the first time he's gone to the family line either. You remember, I think it was 2 years ago, played terribly. And then they started like, well, that's not really that big a deal because really what's most important to him is, spending time with his family. And now he can be there more for like, they do the same thing, and they try to compare it with other players who were supposedly had difficult family lives at home with their kids. It's the same damn flooding the zone garbage, I think, that he always does. Except this one seems to be even more unhinged.
Yeah.
Because I think it requires more unhingedness. I think it's less effective every year, and so it requires this escalation every year. So
it does.
So I just want to zoom out to that. Regardless of the individual nonsense of each one of those takes, I just want to point out that it's been 10 days, and those are all the takes that I could just list off quickly, before coming on live.
Yep.
There might even be some that I'm forgetting about. But that's what stuck out to me. I think it's complete nonsense, but I think it's not random nonsense. I think it serves that purpose. I think it's intentional. I think it's intentionally flooding the zone to distract from LeBron's shitty play and get the conversation off of that as quickly as possible.
Well,
Mark Raving Mad, real quick. Mark Raving Mad just got me. The flooding the zone crap happens literally every year after LeBron gets eliminated. The pattern is so obvious. Thank you, sir. Mark Raving Mad, you are a gentleman and a scholar. Cheers to you.
It's true. The reality is it's classic misdirection. It's if we flood the zone with all of these narratives, all of these ideas, all of these theories, you can't pay attention to the reality of what just happened, which is LeBron got swept for the fourth time in his career.
Nope.
If you're looking over here, you can't look over there. And that's entirely what this is all about. I don't even think they believe any of this fucking nonsense. I mean, it's entirely possible that they do, which would make it even more egregious. But I think they just need to flood the market. They just need to get all of these things out there so nobody knows what to focus on. Because there's so many things to focus on.
Yeah. I think so. Actually, you know what? Actually, hold down the fort. Read a couple of these comments. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna find something out real quick.
So Shadow 188, Shadow, thank you for joining us again. LeBron has a failed season and excuse me, and to not take responsibility for what has happened. LeBron and Paul win at MJ and Kobe's family life and personal growth. LeBron is a textbook narcissist psychopath, 100%, without question. I think that is without a doubt.
Okay. All right.
So Vincent Garcia has pointed out that a number of these players have all came from single family homes. And he says, seeing a pattern, I don't care that they all came from single family homes. I care that they are all weak individuals. That is the consistency. When people turn the blame to their parents or to their upbringing that happened 20, 30 years ago for any type of excuse or lack of accountability for their life or its outcome, I'm disgusted. I check out. I don't want to hear that. I grew up in a single family, in a single parent home and spent the majority of my life alone. I don't make excuses, I make results. It's that simple. If they want to use it as an excuse, great, but it's just like any other excuse they use. It's tired, it's been overused, and it does not dismiss them from accountability.
Well, I can help out here. I can help shed some light onto some of the stuff. I know why Rich Paul is out there having his name all over this podcast and stuff. I know why Rich Paul is a terrible agent who cannot successfully negotiate one-on-one for his clients, why he can't command good leverage, why he does a terrible job at his job. And now I never thought of it before. But wow, that it takes a strong admission from that. I have to respect Rich Paul for admitting that he is terrible at his job, that he's terrible for negotiating on behalf of his clients, that he's terrible at being an agent, that he's terrible at negotiating one-on-one with large franchises, that he's terrible at advocating for each and every one of his clients or getting anything to happen for their benefit, because he completely lacks that killer instinct. He lacks that toughness. He lacks that ability to go and get the best deals possible. You know how I know that?
How?
Because he didn't come from a two-parent home. He came from a single-parent home. So presumably, if we're to take him at his word, that means he cannot possibly deliver any of those things for his clients. The only reason that Jordan and Kobe and players like that do so well and were able to have that sort of killer instinct, that mentality, that win at all costs, to deliver no matter what the obstacle for their teammates and themselves, is because they had a two-parent home. So that is very big of Rich Paul to admit that he cannot do any of those things for himself or his clients because he didn't have a two-parent home.
That is considerate of him, and that's
that's amazing. You're right. That is very considerate of him. I don't know why I didn't think to look that up before.
Yeah.
But it just occurred to me, like, wait a minute. So are you saying you can't do that? Apparently that is what he's saying. Alternatively, he does a great job and he thinks he's very good at his job and he wants to keep doing that. In which case, what the hell are you talking about? Then clearly that's got nothing to do with fuck all. Like, I don't know. What a psycho, man. I mean, it's just such a nonsensical thing. But like I said, I don't think it's designed to be true. I don't think he's actually a true take. I don't think he believes that shit. I think we're just flooding the zone with a bunch of random shit, trying to garner whatever sympathy, trying to garner whatever hype, trying to garner whatever, just giving as many talking points as humanly possible to talk about everything in the universe and keep LeBron's name in the media, despite him no longer being in the playoffs, as they try to negotiate contracts or potential contracts with other teams.
Sure.
Because you don't want people, while you're negotiating this kind of stuff, you say, well, I still want $50 million or I still want $52 million from somebody. The conversation cannot continue to be, man, can you believe how poorly he performed in the playoffs against OKC? Can you believe how much better his teammates performed than him? Can you believe, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I think, which is actually a fantastic segue to the next little piece here of LeBron's nonsense.
Oh, wow.
But you had a point. I'm just going to put it up here now. I'm sad AOH can't see it, but one of the things that I think probably what he does not want us talking about instead, and the reason he's pushing all this stuff, is as they try to go negotiate all of the value that LeBron brings and why he's worth $50 million, and maybe even should re-sign with the Lakers because how much he brings for the Lakers. I don't think he's going to like this. This is the LeBron difference. And this goes to what I know you want to talk about, what you're chomping at the bit to talk about, the out-talented thing. Without LeBron James, the Lakers this season were 63.6% for their win rate. They won 63.6% of their games without LeBron James versus opponents who had 51.2% win rates for the season. With LeBron James, they had a slightly higher 1.4. They had a slightly higher win rate against slightly worse teams. So they do a little bit better against teams that are a little bit worse when LeBron is on the court. And they do just about the same against teams that are better when he's not there. So,
wow.
That seems like it's worth $52 million to me.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I know you were wanting to jump on that out-talented thing.
So I actually screenshotted the article. So it says exactly what he said, because I don't want it to be taken out of context or misquoted. This is verbatim what he said. We were not outworked. They didn't out-physical us. They didn't outsmart us, James said of the Thunder. I feel like we were just out-talented by OKC. They just possess so much more talent. At the end of the day, we failed in talent. OKC just possesses so much more talent than us. You can tip your cap to them, obviously, and understanding that, but you can't get caught up in that, especially when you know you were undermanned. Now, let's just completely ignore all the grammatical and English errors in that, because that would be an entire live all in of itself. But again, does he not understand how incredibly disrespectful that is to his teammates that were putting in so much more work than him?
He does understand. Sorry, go ahead. I think he does understand.
I mean, he very well may. And I just, oh my God, I just can't even believe that he's still touted as a great when he loses, it just immediately turns to excuses and blaming others and dismissing any accountability from himself. I mean, he's also noted as saying, and this I'm paraphrasing, I left it all on the court. I did everything that I could do to win. Really? Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, it's so absurd. You don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so incredibly absurd. It's just, oh my goodness. Okay. Where do we start with that? Let's see. First, I'm going to go straight to the incentives. Why to say these things? Never mind debunking them. Just I'm going to focus on that side of it. Although I have lots of stuff that I immediately think of for how insane that is. But why say that stuff? I think that if you want the Lakers to make room for you, if you want them to get rid of Austin Reeves, if you want them to get rid of anybody, if you want them to make any moves for you, then I think you have to try to get as much publicity as possible and as many people to talk about how great you are and how crap they are.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I think that's a huge. I think that's a huge thing. Yeah, I think if you want $50 million as well, I think that's it. So if you want the Lakers to make any moves or you want to push that stuff, even if it's not true, I think you need as many people to see that as true, so that your value goes with you, even if you don't play with the Lakers. First, so that hopefully people will pay you more money, but also so that when you go, the narrative won't be that the Lakers were actually better without you than they were with you. You want to try to cast a negative light on all of your teammates to say that when you left, oh, now the hype for the entire offseason would be, oh, the Lakers are screwed without him. You know what I mean? I think that's very likely.
That's exactly it.
So I think he does know. I think he absolutely knows. I don't think you can run a $750 million media company and two other smaller media companies. I don't think you can run those for 10 years. I don't think you can own those things. For 18 years now. I don't think you can run that shit for 18 years and not know that is throwing your teammates under the bus or what kind of effect that will have in the media. You run 3 different media companies. So
I think that's true.
So I think it's absolutely. I think it's that strategic. I think that's what the goal is. I think the goal is to try to build that narrative, to have sort of fan pressure. I think he doesn't want to lose control of his own narrative, and I think by
Sure.
disparaging the others in LA, then then it puts the Lakers in a position where they don't want to piss off or disappoint the LA fans. I mean, they don't want the backlash for letting him go. I think that's. I'm not saying that they
Right.
give a shit about it. I'm saying that if I were LeBron James or if I were Rich Paul, if I was Maverick Carter, that's what I would be trying to affect. I would be trying to make it such that the Lakers would have to factor that in. That if you let me go, everybody in LA is going to be mad at you, and that might hurt your ratings. That's what I would guess. I hope that the Lakers prove themselves immune to that. I hope that they believe in the squad that they have without him. I hope that they believe in the numbers that I have there on the board. I mean, if I'm able to pull that together super quick, there's no way that the Lakers, as an organization, are not aware of this. I'm sure they have even much better stats, much more advanced stats for how much better they are and what they can do with $52 million. That would be of infinitely higher value. Not just on the court, but higher value from a media perspective. I think there's a lot of moves, which is the side of it that I think, doesn't get talked about much. But in terms of brand value, I think there's more they could do for ratings and more they could do for brand value without LeBron James that they could do for $52 million.
I agree.
If the push is Europe and the push is interest in China and India and to some degree in the Middle East and Africa and stuff, like there's a lot of other players who are more popular in those parts of the world that you could go get for $52 million. Like that's your interest. You could do something like that. You could bring one of the guys over from over there and have that pull if you want to. Like, I mean, you already have Luka anyway. Who carried them into the playoffs in the first place.
Absolutely.
So just from a brand value perspective, never minding the basketball perspective, we all know, and AOH has proven a million times, and you can literally see it on the screen. What is the difference when LeBron plays with the Lakers, and what is the difference when LeBron does not play with the Lakers? I mean, first, it's not a whole lot, and what difference it is actually, is that they do a little bit better against worse teams with LeBron. I don't know. And they do just 1.4% worse against better teams when LeBron's not playing. I mean, I think that kind of says it all. Like, that's not very valuable. That tells me that Pelinka has done a fantastic job of rebuilding that team. Like, they're not going to go through a rebuild period. You know what I mean? They already went through the rebuild period. That's why LeBron fits in less and less and less every year. That's why those guys develop better and better chemistry every year. Now, whatever you want to think, I mean, I have lots of thoughts about the way that AR plays the game, but they have been developing that. They've been developing that chemistry. They just do better when he's not playing. It's just how it is. And I mean, you can get granular with it, as AOH has shown countless times. LeBron goes in, they fall behind, LeBron sits out, they catch back up. Like, I mean, it even happens within the games. I'm not even going that deep into it. Just literally just the games outright. So I think there's better stuff that they could do. I really hope that they don't go into it. I don't think that they will. I think that it's toxic to the team that Pelinka has built. I think it's Jeannie's already gotten her value. She's already sold the stake of the Lakers that she wants to sell. There's no reason for her to risk it. There's no reason they can't take that short-term hit. They now have much bigger private equity money in there that cares more about the long-term value of the franchise and the push and the international value from pushing into Europe and other markets. So I don't think they care. I just cannot imagine a world where they care enough to deal with that. But, they could still do it. I don't know if you want to talk about the other, the no bet minimum and the championship and that stuff, but I will segue real quick in terms of other options, and then we can go back to more nonsense.
Sure.
Just because that seems to segue very nicely. I wanted to point some things out about LeBron's options. I see a lot of debate stuff of New York, is he going to go to New York? But that's the only other major market that still has all the media stuff that he would, whatever. Or he could go to the Clippers to stay in LA. He could go back to the Cavs, back where it all started. Oh, but Golden State could clear a bunch of room for him. Those are the only teams that have, cap space for him and stuff like that. There's a couple of considerations that I want everybody to be aware of as they continue talking about this over the next few weeks. Everybody keep this in your mind. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, I think is the name of it. CAA is the rival agency to Clutch. That is the agency that Rich Paul got his start at. That is actually the one who came up with the idea of super teams, that then Rich Paul and LeBron took that model, made it their own in 2012, formed Clutch, and poached a bunch of CAA stuff, and the two of them have been rivals ever since.
Yeah.
CAA has done a fantastic job over the last 11 years, I think I would put it at. 11 years of working their way into more front offices around the league and more of the sort of development pipeline, the G League, the European leagues like the NBA Africa. CAA is a lot more involved in that side of things.
Right.
CAA is the one who mostly represents basically the entire front office of the New York Knicks is now repped by CAA. So the odds that the New York Knicks would make a whole bunch of massive changes to bring Clutch Sports into the CAA team. I mean, them and OKC are the two most CAA teams in the league. There's no way that New York is going to bring Clutch Sports, their rival agency.
Right.
I don't see it. I mean, maybe if they can put aside their differences for money, and if CAA believes that through front office representation, they can control it enough, but there's no way. They've been burned 3 times by Clutch already. So I haven't seen that mentioned anywhere. So just a little nugget of information there, that all this New York talk would require the biggest Clutch star with the entire Clutch infrastructure to be accommodated by their rival agency at New York, who is now super successful and does not need any help with brand recognition or brand value of any kind. And we'll see how they do this playoffs, but rather in the if they make it to the finals and how they do in the finals, but they might have even less of a reason here in a couple weeks. So I just don't see how I don't see how it would ever be New York when New York is entirely repped by Clutch's rival agency. That doesn't make any sense. Golden State will not make all those moves. There's no universe that happens.
No.
All of those guys are on bird rights. All of those guys are, there's nowhere to put them. No other team can take them. They're on bird rights until their contracts are over, and then they'll go for fair market value. But some other teams would have to take them on at their current bird rights value. Which, bird rights, if anybody is not aware, bird rights is once you've been with the team 3 years, you can get sort of raises with that team that don't hurt your team cap, that don't penalize you above the second apron. So other teams would have to take those contracts that are ridiculously high because they've been with GSW for over 3 years without the immunity to that. So it would actually hurt them significantly more. It's not just that they would have to pay that amount of money. It's that they would have to pay that amount of money and also not have any exemptions from taxes or penalties for doing it. So there's just not, I don't think Golden State has the ability to dump that on the market. I don't think they have the ability to make that room. This is their last year. This is, their last year with the guys they have. This is going to be, I think, Golden State's sort of farewell sort of tour. And then it's the following year that all those contracts are over. And then we'll see, what Golden State wants to do as far as rebuild. That's when, we'll see what the future holds for them in the long term. But that's where this era is over for Golden State. So they can't dump the value, is my point. They can't dump enough guys on the market. There are not teams that can afford to pay that in order to create that space for him to come to Golden State. So just no shot. So that leaves you with the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Cavs. The Clippers, no way. They would have to gut everything. They would have to get rid of everybody. People can argue they should, but I don't believe that they would. I don't believe that they will. That doesn't make any sense, especially with the the dealings that have been going on with with Kawhi and stuff. Like, no way. I mean, that's too embedded. I don't see that happening.
Right.
So it's LA. Either he can, suck out another year of LA, or he goes back to the Cavs. I think his goal with Luka and all that stuff there, I think his goal was to either make it to the finals or win the finals. But I think the goal was to make it to the finals and then go home to Cleveland. Clutch was involved in getting James Harden over to the Cavs. Clutch was involved in clearing up that cap space for Cleveland. So I think now that Luka got injured, I think that threw a huge monkey wrench into their plans. And I really hope it was on purpose. I really hope Luka did it to them on purpose. But purposefully or not, that's the situation I think that they find themselves in now. They find themselves now where if you go back to Cleveland, you're unlikely to actually go out on top. You didn't do it, and LA is still positioned to do it without you, which I think would be terrible for them. I mean, I think that's
right.
I think that's unacceptable to them. So I think now they want to try to get, as much as they can for one more year, and then they might just abandon the Cleveland idea altogether, which would be kind of funny to see.
It would.
But I think that's the goal. And I think Woodage is 100% right that real Laker fans do not want him to come back. There's no way. But, I think that was the window. You know what I mean? Like, it kept the brand value from going down, from uncertainty and from lack of, from less ratings, less social media posts, less impressions and all that, for Jeannie Buss's sale of her stake. But now there's no reason to keep him.
Yeah.
Like, why would you avoid that and waste another year of the team you have without him? The team you have without him is better.
Without question. And yeah, I think the whole Rob Pelinka's comments are PR nonsense. I think Luka's ambiguity when he was asked, is he going to try to recruit LeBron? I think they all on the back end already know the answer is no. And they're just biding their time until they finally say, get the fuck out. We don't care where you go, but you can't stay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I hope that's what happens. The reality is if they do re-sign him again, I will wish nothing but terrible things for the Lakers until their organization no longer exists, because they will have reaped what they sow and deserve everything they get. Because it's not going to be good. There's not going to be, I'm going to knock on wood. Hopefully there will not be another pandemic, because without another pandemic, there's no chance of them winning another ring with LeBron on the team. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't see it happening. They could, if he were to take it and then, get injured again, and then sit out for, let's say, 30 games next season or 40 games next season, yeah, then I think they actually have a legit chance. I think they could actually do it. And that's what I would expect to happen. That's honestly what I would expect to happen if he re-signed with LA. And I would bet that LA has seen enough of this behavior over the last, 8 years now, that they would be skeptical of or wary of that happening to them as well. I don't think they want to get left with that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way. But that team is good enough now, I think, to get there or to be a contender. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that's what makes sense. I think they're screwed. I think the goal was to do a deep run this year, potentially actually win it, and then go to Cleveland and do your farewell tour. In Cleveland, look really nice, the kid from Akron, sort of, build up as much good PR as possible, and then go make that play for Vegas and with the Saudi League that he wants to start over there.
Right.
I think that was what the plan was. And then I think Luka getting injured and Austin Reeves getting injured. I think both of them getting injured, but Luka actually just being straight up out, I think completely tanked that thing. And now I think we're scrambling. Now I think it's a scramble to either find a way to make LA work one more time, Because if LA does well after he leaves, that looks terrible.
I mean, they're going to. Like, I think that's a reality that they're just going to have to face.
Yeah, but if he doesn't get any of the benefit of that, that's unacceptable, I think, to them. I think to their camp,
Well,
I think that's unacceptable to them. So I think they're going to try to leech on one more time is what they're going to try to do. And then that's it. Or they'll just have to go to Cleveland. But either way, that leaves James Harden kind of screwed over there, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Bronny Jr., see some people asking in the chat about that. I have no idea, man. I mean, I would assume he follows along, or, you know, like, I can't imagine that, you know, I mean, they could probably get whatever PR value they can get out of him, and that's probably about it.
I mean, I have to assume he will be a part of the deal wherever LeBron goes, that you have to bring LeBron along with, or LeBron will literally let him go by the wayside and disappear into obscurity, because nobody's going to pay him more. Like, the Lakers aren't going to re-sign him for a raise, which he would be getting if they do, for his production without LeBron. They did it as a courtesy gesture.
I don't think that he will actually bring Bronny with him. That's honestly what I think. I think it would be framed as he left his son on the best possible chance to win with a legendary franchise, and then he went to go to Cleveland, back where he's, you know, back to his hometown and all this kind of stuff. You know, and he left his son in the best position to win. I think that would be the narrative that they would pursue, rather than look how obviously Nepo baby this is.
Right.
I don't think they'll do it. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be that crazy, but I would think he would just leave him on the Lakers. But that's why I don't buy it. That's why I don't buy it. The best thing for an ownership play in Vegas, if he wants to be the face of an investor group like that with FSG, or a merge with Magic Johnson's group, then the best move is Cleveland. Or go out on top in LA, or stay in LA, and LA has to actually either make a deep run, has to be at least Western Conference Finals, or straight up in the finals, win or lose. Only those are the only two outcomes, I think, that help him in a play for Vegas and for the Saudi League. Anything else, I think, would be seen as failure, and I think it would be sort of a PR hit for him that would make him less valuable to those sort of investor groups. So that's what I think. I think those are the actual only two options. I think it was supposed to be, that run was supposed to be this year against all odds, and then farewell tour in Cleveland, and now they're screwed. Now do you go do a farewell tour in Cleveland, leaving a contender that then with $52 million can definitely be a contender? And then it's like, look, they had instantaneous success when you left, which looks terrible. Or do you try to weasel your way to stay for some amount of time and then never do your Cleveland return? I think that's now the position that he's in. But all this New York Clippers stuff, like, no chance. He's not going to go to a CAA team. He's going to stay with a clutch team, or wherever a clutch can still have enough leverage. He's not going to go to an opposite team. So that's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's wild. I like this, though. Bronny could add estranged father to his list of hardships. Well, I guess it would give him the selfish gene, wouldn't it? I don't know.
It would.
It's all very confusing. Mr. Robinson says, what's insane is that sports was played for the fans, for the city, and to win the championship. They managed to convince people in being invested in a player being selfish and blaming everyone else. Yes, I totally agree with that. Not to plug it once more, but, you know, it is just sort of foundational. If you ever want to go check out, if you haven't seen it, my first ever video was on how the league makes money, and it's exactly how that business model shifted from what was good for fans was also good for money, and how that shifted. And now what is good for fans is completely irrelevant to money. In fact, often what is best for money is what is actually worse for fans.
Yep.
Cultivating the Swifties is more profitable.
No, it is
So
a fantastic video, and if none of you guys have seen it, you should absolutely go and watch it because it's disgusting.
it's pretty gross. I try to keep it upbeat, you know. It's dystopian, but I do try to keep it a little bit upbeat anyway.
No, for sure. And I think you do a good job. But yeah, just the things that you're highlighting are like, oh my God, is it really that bad? And yeah, it really is. So
It is actually that bad. Is the is the takeaway.
that is definitely what's gross. So kind of segueing to the next thing, do you think LeBron being unwilling to accept the vet minimum will limit his options of where he can go?
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Mr. Robinson has seen that video. I'm very glad that you've seen it, and I'm sorry. I apologize for the depressing nature of it. I agree. Binary Bard, upbeat dystopian is his favorite genre. Mine too. Big Bioshock.
It's where I lived.
Yeah, big Bioshock Fallout influence on that series. But yeah, I think it absolutely does. I don't even think it screws up where he can go, because I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. I don't think he wants to go to a different team. I don't think he wants to leave LA. I think that was the plan. I think, like I said, I think the plan was go out on top in LA so that any success that LA has following him can be seen as, you know, him having caused, not as a result of him leaving, and then go to the Cavs. I had said, and I actually have this documented, I said this in early February, that his best move would be to do well this year, get carried by Luka, and then take a vet minimum in Cleveland to give Cleveland the best opportunity to, you know, really be a better contender next year.
Right.
And then that win or lose doesn't matter if he takes the vet minimum and goes home with it after having succeeded in LA. Then that would make him the most sort of high value that he could get for the sort of face of and public facing spot of his investment group with either Fenway Sports Group or Magic Johnson's group. So that was my prediction of what he was going to do, and then Luka gets injured, and then AR gets injured, and now that's all, you know, very interesting. So if I were a betting man, what I would say he ought to do would be to take the vet minimum and stay in LA. I would say to do the big pay cut in LA to give LA, you know, whatever it is, $49 million to work with, that then would be them getting over the hump and then, you know, actually doing something huge. But taking that vet minimum would be an even more reduced role than third option. Then everybody would say that, oh, that's only because, you know, like old Karl Malone or old Charles Barkley kind of thing. I think everybody would then call it like that and delegitimize whatever success they had as not really being because of LeBron James. But, you know, I think if he stays there and they pay him $40-something million or $50 million, even if he takes a small pay cut, which is probably what he'll try to do.
I mean, that's what he said. Small pay cut.
Yeah, but even if LA does it, I'm not sure that LA will even do that. But even if LA does it, that's still a huge liability. You know, I still don't think that that's going to help LA to get anywhere. I think that's going to actively hurt.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's an interesting question. It's going to be interesting to see what the new controlling stake of LA thinks about that, and whether they can even force Pelinka to deal with this for one more year. Pelinka's been building for years. He's been building since 2023 to get out from LeBron James. And, you know, Jeannie Buss voted to kill LeBron James's model, to kill the Clutchonomics team model. So everybody in the Lakers, all the power people in the Lakers have been boxing him out step by step and boxing out Clutch and voting against Clutch and banning Clutch. And they've just been very anti-Clutch for the last 4 years. So I don't know. It's crazy. So that's what I think. That's my view on his options, but it's LA or Cleveland. for one of those two reasons, and then a whole bunch of bullshit narrative around it.
Crazy. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out.
Yeah, it's wild, but the end game of this is making a play for Vegas and for taking Fullwell 73, his new production company, sort of taking that to the heights of sports media. That's where his attention. That's where the plan is. So I'm looking at these things in terms of what best helps accomplish those things. Like what's in the best interest for that media company? What's in the best interest for Fullwell is for global sports media, not domestic. So what's in his best interest for that? That would be Saudi League, that would be Europe, that would be international markets. So what helps most with that is staying in LA and going out on top. What helps more for Vegas is a return to Cleveland very humbly and looking like the greatest PR, genius, greatest PR move guy, since Magic Johnson.
So question I have is, the Knicks are up 2-0 over the Cavs. If the Cavs lose this, would he still consider that option?
Absolutely. Actually, it's in his best interest if the Cavs lose, I think.
Interesting.
If they win and then LeBron joins them and then they lose next year, then LeBron tanked them. So it's in his best interest for them to lose so that LeBron going either keeps it the same or makes them win. That's the only two good options. You can't have them be worse.
Right.
That'd be terrible. AOH in the chat says, hey guys, good topics. Sorry, I couldn't make it. Absolutely not. Don't even worry about it whatsoever.
No big deal, man. Just know you are always welcome.
That's right. You're welcome to call in, give any thoughts if you want as we wrap up. But otherwise, this was a lot of topics, and there are still more. This is one hell of a week.
It's
one hell of a week.
Crazy what's going on.
So we're actually going to be saving the clutch time conversation for another stream because it's just so much this week. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Vincente says, also, I'm sorry, Cleveland would be absolutely stupid to bring him back. Dude has burned them twice already. I think the city would riot if he went back to Cleveland. I mean, he has just destroyed every team that he's gone to. So we will be talking about that in an upcoming live here about what it has actually cost these teams beyond just financially, but what does it actually cost them? It's awful. It's terrible. It's gross. And when you compare it against other runs, it gets even worse. So, yeah, I think any team would be crazy to bring him on. There's not a single team in the NBA that I would recommend bringing him. The brand value is not worth it. You have to mortgage too much, and you get nothing back. Like, it's purely extractive. It's purely parasitic. It's for the same reason I wouldn't suggest for anybody to, attach themselves to a parasite. Same reason.
It's just bad business.
Yeah, it's just not good. It's just never a good. I can't think of any times where anybody's been recommended that.
That's ever worked out in anyone's favor other than the parasites.
Yeah, what you should do for your long-term health? You should just live the rest of your life with a parasite. Like, no, that's a terrible idea. That's never been good. I wouldn't recommend it to any NBA team or any other business either.
Yeah, if you take away anything from this live, it's do not attach yourself to a parasite.
Yeah. But whatever. I guess they're going to spend a few weeks debating of, who would like to have a parasite and how many millions, are they willing to spend on it?
Yeah. How much are you willing to pay for a parasite to destroy your organization? That's the question they did ask themselves.
Yep. But yeah, it's all gross, but that's what I think. So I think there's no way, like I said, it's not New York. There's no chance. New York's entire front office is repped by the rival agency to Clutch. It's not happening.
Well, no, and if New York does not win this year, it's the closest they've been in some time. I don't think they're going to be willing to, throw any wrenches in those gears. Like
Nope.
they're on a good path. Even if they don't win this year, they're still on a good path. They can't fuck it up.
Yep, and that was CAA's doing. So there's no way. There's no way. But yeah, anyway, so I think that's probably a good place to end it. I don't know.
I think so.
That's
I think so.
Huge,
I think we've
that's
covered a lot.
Monster live.
We're literally right at the 2-hour mark, which I think is a good place. Real quick, PMR Robinson did say that the media speaks as if LeBron brings greatness to a team is the insanity of it all. The guy that says ring culture is toxic. How toxic? Not level 1, not level 2, not level 3.
Actually, AOH, I have something for you if you are still in the chat. Let me put this up for you. We are learning. Yeah, we're learning to do this. But here is one stat for you. I can put up on the screen there. I did a quick calculation of it. This is just one more time for everybody. This is a great note to end on. This is the LeBron difference of 25 to 26. This season, when LeBron was not playing, when he missed the entire game, they had a 63.6% win rate, and their opponents had an average of a 51.2% win rate. Whereas when LeBron was playing, they got a small bump, 1.4%. They did 65% win rate against teams that had a lower win rate. So they did slightly better against slightly worse teams when he was playing, and they did a little bit worse against better teams when he wasn't playing. And so somehow I'm expected to believe that that is worth $50 some odd million. Yes, Binary Bard. That's perfect. It's amazing what he's doing at this age.
It really is. I'm constantly blown away.
So, there it is. I mean, it's just, there's the numbers. That's worth $50 million. That's what they're arguing. They're arguing to see if that's worth $50 million. So, it's crazy stuff. But anyway, thank you everybody for coming. This was a monster live. So many topics, such a big week. Really appreciate everybody who came by, everybody who came in, anybody listening from the future. Hello, and thanks for listening. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for giving our opinions a shot here. We hope you all enjoyed it very much. Cyberius, thanks for joining me. I can't tell you, it's so great to have friends to do this stuff with. This is a lot of fun.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys always have amazing insights, fantastic comments. I can tell that you're all true scholars of the game, which is why I have the utmost respect for all of you. Thank you, PMR, for doing this with me, or for hosting this, for bringing all of the facts, for bringing the information, for having a topic list and making sure that we stick to it and don't go too far offhand. An absolutely fantastic live, just chocked full of information. And I think we got through all of it. There's still a lot more to go through.
Oh, yeah.
But man,
plenty of time for that.
Great show.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back. Next is Tuesday Classic Games.
Tuesday Classic
7 o'clock,
Games.
7 o'clock Central, or whatever time, wherever you are. Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers.
All right. Happy Friday.